Hello everybody, my name is Patrick and I own MacDonald Timing. And it's been a little while, in fact a couple of months, so let's get caught up and also let's go over my thoughts and review of the Lynx Vision Camera. So it's now late January and it's been a couple of months since the last video. I think in the meantime we have done the regional championship over in Memphis, which went fantastic, honestly. No problems at all, super smooth, everything seemed quite good, and still haven't gotten any complaints, which is fantastic. And then a couple weeks off, Thanksgiving, ran a half marathon, first time I've done that in quite a while, went great. And then did an indoor meet in early December, and then a road race, and then have been on vacation. Went over to Europe for a couple of weeks, and had a great time. Got back home about 2 weeks ago, and have been focused on getting ready for our indoor meet that I just got back from the other day. I'm still pretty tired and everything, but went great, and it was a lot of fun. Both indoor meets I actually did with an old friend of mine, Rich from TRXC Timing out of St. Louis. He happened to be free and volunteered to come on over. So he ran a backup camera, and he's been playing around with Meet Pro and trying to see if it's a workable program for him. And I ran the primary camera, and we kind of split the field entry duty. It's always interesting to work with somebody new because you can see what their workflow looks like. Rich actually got me into timing when I was in college. He was my coach, and so I used to run and then literally head upstairs as quickly as I possibly could and time the rest of the meet is usually how it worked out, and I got pretty good at it. And I'm very thankful for that skill at this point in time. So, but I've developed my own patterns and habits and the way I'd like to do things, and he has done the same. Business-wise, he's been very successful, and so there's things to learn from that aspect of it. Operator-wise, like I do things differently, and my just my pattern, my workflow is different. But it's always great to work with somebody, and so that you can observe what they do, and maybe you can take something away from that experience. And so it'd be interesting to see. Like I need to kind of think about it a little bit more, think about my workflow patterns and everything. But it was great working with him, and kind of looking around and watching him do his thing. I think I offered a couple of things for him and his work patterns, maybe that'd be a little bit different than what he's normally doing. So, got that. I've got about 5 weeks until our outdoor season really gets ramped up. In that time, I'm going to be taking out all of my laptops and making sure that all the software is up to date on it, making sure the IP addresses and everything are proper. So just kind of double checking and triple checking to make sure that everything is working the way it needs to, because there's limited time during the season. Plenty of people ask me when I tell them what I do, they say, well, what do you do with the rest of your time? And it's like, well, I prepare for the days that I'm working really hard so that I'm not running around in a panic, basically. So right now I don't have anything technically to time for like 4 or 5 weeks, but I'm going to be doing a lot of my own check-ins and everything. I'm going to be doing some training with my technician. I'm trying to get him set up with his own camera, actually, and so we've got that going on, and just doing little things. I need to build my world famous weather covers for my new Vision, and actually I owe one to the guys up at Columbus Running Company, and so so I need to do that. Just little things around the house. April and October are the 2 busiest months in our calendar, and it makes sense to try to handle our time and run up to them really well, so that I'm not looking lost when it comes to those days. So I'm excited. I'm a little tired right now. I mean, still kind of recovering. A lot of driving to the indoor stuff and there and back, and that it always takes me a couple of days to recover, and I don't sleep particularly well on the road. So, that's my own problem right there. But yeah, it was great working with Rich, and I really appreciate it. He is a Lynx distributor, and so I got my recent camera from him, and I order from him. I get new start sensors and everything from him, and he's been really fantastic. And if you need anything Lynx wise, go to him, get to him, and they'll help you out. So trxctiming.com. So beyond that, I finally have run the Vision indoors twice now. And of course, I did a full cross-country season with it this fall, and I've been more than impressed with it over the course of the fall, and even more impressed with it indoors. The cameras, the Lynx cameras I have in front of me, they're very, very sensitive to light. I describe them to people as like, sometimes they are like a point and shoot, like a camera they would take photos with. Sometimes they are software devices, but when it comes down to it, when getting the images, they really do operate like a photography setup basically. And the fact is that this camera is far superior to either of these two right out of the box as far as the light sensitivity. Indoors, there's just not as much light as there is outdoors, which I'm sure you've noticed if you've been indoors or outdoors in your life. But that's not generally a problem for our eyes. Our eyes can compensate really easily. Cameras struggle a little bit more. If you want to experience this, go outside and shoot sports with a cam, like a DSLR camera. Shoot people at a track meet or a football game or whatever, and then go inside and try shooting a basketball game. A totally different universe, and you've got to match, and it's so tricky. It's crazy. So, a little bit of history with the Lynx stuff. This is the kind of the main camera that was produced from 2000 to like 2010, maybe a little bit after that. The Finishlynx 2000 is the name of it. I just refer to it as the fat body camera, for kind of obvious reasons. It's just literally fat, and there is cooling holes on the bottom of it. Around 2010, they came out with the slimmer version, which hopefully you can see through my fantastic case here. And on the bottom of it, there are some holes, and there are actually fans associated with it. And the fans run pretty much all the time. The belief is that the fat-bodied cameras are more robust than the slim version of it. I think there's some, depending on the age of the fat-bodied camera, there are different sensors that were on it. So the one that I traded in for the Vision had one of the older sensors on it, and it was pretty much garbage at any time of day. But there is some real value to the robustness of these older cameras. My main camera that I use is a fat-bodied camera that's black and white, high resolution, and it still has a remote lens on it and everything. But it's been bulletproof. Knock on wood. It's been bulletproof for years, and it's my preferred camera. Produces great images. Yeah, they're not color, but I really don't care about that too much. In low light situations too, it was far superior to the color cameras at the same time. So you can see, I'm going to put up right now an image that I captured this past weekend, and then here's an image that I captured as backup last year with the black and white camera. And conditions for this black and white image are not as good as you would really want to. It's a little bit too far away. It's just kind of things left and right. But the black and white is going to do a little bit better indoors in low light conditions compared to a color camera. Because it's not focused quite as much on the type of information it's getting when it's just worried about grayscale images. So there are so for me, I prefer now the Vision, but I'm not going to get rid of my fat bodied black and white one just yet. In fact, I have a second fat-bodied one, which is color and older, and that's going to be definitely the next one to go. I don't know when I will trade in this one, because this does have a better selection of ports in the back of it than the fat-bodied ones, but still, there come a time where maybe somebody will want to buy it or something like that. But for right now, I'm good with it, but it's definitely on the list to go first, and before the but it's definitely. So I have an older black and white one, which I'm the older. Yeah. So I have another color one that's older. It's fat bodied, but the image is garbage. I'm gonna be trading that one in probably this summer. Getting another Vision, but getting an upgraded Vision compared to this one. Probably will get high res and a couple other things. Not sure about when I'll trade in this one. It is in great shape, so I'm a little bit less inclined to do so, but I'm definitely not interested in keeping it over a Vision at a certain point in time. So let's talk about the Vision. So the slim one came out roughly about 10 years ago, 2009 to 11 or so, and then the Vision started to come out around 2015, 16, and they did away with the fans on the bottom. Design-wise, it is smaller. It's a little bit thinner, I believe, than the more recent Finishlynx. It's definitely shorter, which leads itself to actually probably my only complaint about it. Is that I have on here right now an older remote positioner unit, which is a very, very helpful thing. But the remote positioner plate that goes onto the camera is about a 1/4 inch longer than it needs to be. So the camera is so short. I mean, it's technically, the plate itself is smaller than the camera, but the position where you actually would connect the camera to a plate or something is right in the middle, and so it's not offset enough, so the plate on the remote positioner is offset, and so it ends up being longer than the camera in the back. So there's a lip, it's a 1/4 inch lip. It's like, why was this logical? Otherwise the ports in the back are pretty fantastic. The main reason that I've gone to it is that power over Ethernet is a fantastic little invention, and so this camera is so power non-hungry that it can run over power over Ethernet, and that's a huge advantage wherever you are, basically. It's also a lot lighter, and so you can climb up a ladder pretty high and feel comfortable, holding on to it, and you're not going to drop your $10,000 camera. But then just the ability to run one single wire to it is fantastic. There's a Links plug on it, so you just plug your receiver into the back, and then you still have space for a connection box, and then a serial, which you can run your wind gauge off of, and all sorts of other things. And then they've got a couple of kind of quirky things. There's an HDMI output, so you can run a display right by the finish line, which is also a pretty useful thing. I normally run my panels down by the finish line off of a different program, and I'm happy to send that connection, that signal down to it. But I would think, and I can imagine a couple of situations where it would be very useful just to be able to take an HDMI cable out of this, plug it into your NovaStar box, whatever, through the DVI adapter, and run panels directly from the software. I can see some use for that. And if you are a kind of an average client, like the cameras that I have, they're all kind of prosumer is probably the way to put it. Kind of your regular jabroni is not going to have one of these cameras, but those are the cameras that schools would buy. So if you're a school administrator or a coach, and you're like, oh, well, what camera do I have? It's one of these three, almost certainly. Now, they did come up with some slightly different branded ones. I think they came out with a Tag Heuer one, and there was also a Gill one, which is orange, but it's the same basic componentry. And same thing now, you can still get one that has like a tag label on the side, but this is the standard camera that you're going to get if you buy it through them right now. If you get one of the packages, this is what you're going to see. And they're very usable. The alignment mode, and the big thing with the Vision versus the old ones is that this one allows you to put it on the finish line using two-dimensional imagery rather than kind of one-dimensional, which is just displaying exactly what the camera would see if people were running across it. It does definitely speed it up. It's very helpful in cross-country, actually, because in cross-country, the line that you get, the finish line that you would actually see at a cross-country race, it pretty much varies heavily depending on the race and the event, and sometimes you get there and there's nothing there at all, like because they didn't paint a finish line. And so I travel with marking paint usually, but if I don't and we get there and there's no image, or if the grass is wet, then there's not going to be time for that paint to dry. So we can put it down, you can use a two-dimensional mode, you can see exactly where it is, and we always run our mats with cross country, so we can make sure that we put it right on the mat edge, and we can get a very consistent finish line. And that's really the benefit, even on the track, is that you can see where the finish line is, like where you're shooting on the line all the way up and down it. So it's a lot easier to do that with the Vision, and it's been pretty fantastic, and honestly it's been really robust. It boots right up very, very quickly. The port selection in the back, as I said, is fantastic. It allows you to do a couple of different things very easily. The lens is a little bit better. I like it. It's an 8mm lens to start with, and so it's a little bit better shooting close from my experience than the fat-bodied cameras, which start with a 12mm lens. It's an easy device to use. It's somewhat pretty, but I just wish that it was maybe a little bit longer to compensate for the remote positioner unit. I would like that just a little bit better, but otherwise it's pretty fantastic. If you need one, if you're watching this, you're admin and you're like, we can get one. First of all, I can teach you how to use it. Just contact me. We do training. All of our training though is going to be done pretty much in the off season, so August or January is going to be our heavy training load. And if you do want to buy one, then go ahead and contact TRXC Timing. As I said, they are a distributor, and they'll get you hooked up with exactly what you need at a great price. These things are not things that you can buy off the shelf over at a Best Buy or big box store or something like that. They are precision devices, and you want to handle them carefully, and you want to buy them from somebody that's reputable. Timers like myself, I buy old cameras too, so if you've got an old green one laying around, let me know. I'll take it off your hands. We'll figure out something that we can do. We can either trade it in straight away for time. We can pay you money for it, or we can trade it for timing experiences. Whatever you need, we can deal with. But if you were to sell me a camera, the chances is pretty high that I'm going to be sending it back and getting one of these. There's just some better value in these cameras, and they're a little bit more teachable. But they've been good, and I'm really happy with them. I was a little bit skeptical. I'm doing this review 4 years after they came out because I was skeptical, and I was happy with my old green-bodied ones, the fat ones especially. But this is definitely worth the upgrade, and I've been really happy with it. So if you have questions, please feel free to leave it down below. Subscribe. We'll see you soon with a new video, and thanks for watching.